Bobby Aylward, Alan Farrell, Catherine Connolly, Shane Cassells, David Cullinan, Catherine Murphy. And Deputy Kelly is next then, and we'll see after that. So, Deputy Aylward, you have 10 minutes, and because of the nature of the meeting and keeping the 10-minute time slots strict.
Thank you, Chairman, and I wake Mr. Fraser here as the Accounting Officer for Vote 1 of the Presidential Establishment. I suppose, as you understand, our remit here, when there's a report from the Controller or General, our remit is to scrutinise the vote and to make sure there's value for money for the taxpayer of this country who pays the money to keep all this system in place. Just as I say, I see where the Controller General said 3.6 million. Well, this is the 2016 report. Just in last Sunday's paper I read where there's a cost of 50 million per annum. I don't know where it is now, it's just a paper. I read it in the Sunday paper, 50 million. That'd be 7 million a year. Where would that figure have come out, or how would anyone have said that?
Clarify the figure you mentioned again. 50
million since 2011 was spent on the presidency of costs. There's only a paper now. I'm just asking Mr. Fraser just for a comment on it. Or Mr. McCarthy.
I think the source of that calculation, and I didn't see the article on Sunday, but I imagine that it's taken by aggregating the figures from the operating cost statement of the account. The operating cost statement tries to get the full costs associated with the service. And so it brings in expenses that are borne on other votes for which other accounting officers are responsible, and includes them in the operating cost statement. So I think if maybe we could go to page 7 of the appropriation account, you can see a figure in 2016 of 8.2 million, and at the bottom of the page you get a breakdown. The net allied services figure is 4.6 million, and the breakdown of it is given there. It indicates the other votes and the central fund as being the sources of that.
So basically what we're saying here is that, okay, there's 3.6 million you have said, but there's other costs from, I suppose, the Gardaí, security, army, all that, etc.
Yeah.
Care taken of
the upkeep of Áras an Uachtaráin is the big spend block, 2.4 million in 2016. So
is the 3.6 million a true reflection of the cost of having the presidency in place? Would it be more like 7-point-something million then?
I think the point of the operating cost statement is to try and get the full costs of the service. So the vote is specifically for office expenses and as I said, the centenarian's bounty.
Yeah, but I'm trying to clarify here, the overall costs would be more likely to be what was quoted in this paper, 7-point-something million.
In 2016, 8.2 million.
Yeah, 8.2 million.
In the year.
Yes, so it should be more line that line. Okay. Mr. Fraser, are you happy with the procedure and the way the governance of the monies are spent? And I mean, you're an accounting officer. I suppose on a yearly basis you have to stand over this. Are you happy to spend that and the way it is spent and the way it is distributed? Are you happy with all the procedures that's in place?
So, the way it is distributed and how it is spent is obviously a matter for the President and the President's office. Deputy, if you're asking me, am I happy with the financial management and controls and oversight? I am, and my main assurance, in fairness, comes from the clean audit reports from the CNAG.
Yeah, well, I'll lead on to the next question. If you felt there was an overspend or money being spent unnecessary, whose control or who has the authority to check that and to call it in if it's been over extravagant or whatever words you'd like to call it? Can that happen, and is it scrutinised to keep it under control and that does value for money in what we spent?
Well, I suppose unnecessary is, I don't know what unnecessary is. That's a matter of opinion. If there was any sense that the proper procedures weren't being followed in Áras an Uachtaráin, that would be picked up either under internal audit in the future or by the CNAG.
Yeah, well, the reason why I asked that question, we can all go on holidays, we can go on business, we can go first class, we can go where we like, and we can stay in different type of hotels and etc. who decides who goes where? Who in the President's office decides who goes where, what hotels, what travel, what arrangements?
Deputy and Chairman, who in the President's office decides
on yourself to
is absolutely
state
asking
your
me about
position.
the offices and the functions of the President.
You can answer that today, okay.
Well, I can help you somewhat. I mean, the Department of Foreign Affairs makes most of the travel arrangements, but I can't get into who in the President's office makes decisions.
Yeah, all I'm trying to
We can't either.
all I'm trying to scrutinise here is the value for money. That's all I'm saying, and all I'm doing is following the money. That's our job. And all I'm asking is a straight question. I don't want to overstep any remark or make any accusations. All I'm asking here is the question: are we getting value for money on all aspects of the spend on Board 1 of the establishment of the President's establishment? That's what I'm trying to get at, and that's what we're doing here today, to scrutinise it. That's all I'm trying to do. I'm not trying to make any political gains or anything like that.
No, I understand.
The arrangements are made substantially by the Department of Foreign Affairs, you're saying?
So,
The foreign-
foreign travel arrangements are made by the Department of Foreign Affairs, generally speaking. So, say, if there was a state visit, and I'm not talking about the incumbent, but any president here, if there was a state visit, Department of Foreign Affairs in the host country would make the arrangements for travel, and they would, they have their own procedures, but broadly speaking, they're interested in logistics, security, location, whether a venue is suitable for
His mobile phone not on airplane. So I'll ask everyone to put it on airplane. Putting it on silent is not adequate. It can still interfere with the record. The record exists.
So, but yeah, Deputy, I mean, to your general point, like, it's responsibility of the people in the Áras, somewhat in Foreign Affairs, and I get assurance from the CNAG if he saw anything where procedures weren't being followed, I'm sure he'd tell you either his management letter or his audit report.
I mean, there is good news there that there was a 10% return in 2016, which is, in other words, the money that was voted on wasn't even used up. Can you, is that the norm that it comes in under costs, or are we giving too much money to the vote at the beginning?
Could I just make an observation?
And
It
Mr.
wouldn't
Craig,
be.
will you check your own phone? The buzzing seems to be coming from that side of the house.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I just want to. You're on airplane. Okay.
Yeah, the underspend, I think one thing about an appropriation account is there must be no overspending. That's the priority. So you're always aiming to come in under the budget that's provided. The 10% underspend is about what's usual on the President's establishment vote, and it's not out of line with spending for similar small offices or departments.
And just clarify again, first I finish, just on the spend, if to seen by yourself, Mr. Fraser, that there was overspend or extravagance somewhere along the line, have you power to intervene and to speak to someone in the Presidency office?
It hasn't happened, Deputy. Well, let me put it this way. If I received an internal audit report, or I received a management letter from the CNAG, or an audit report from the CNAG which gave rise to concern, then I would have to take it up with the staff and the Office of the President, because that's my responsibility.
And
but I wouldn't seek to intervene in the operations of Áras Neutron. And as I'm sure people understand, the relationship between the government and the President, or the relationship between the Oireachtas and the President, is a very delicate one. So it would be with the greatest reluctance that I would intervene in Áras Neutron. But if a financial issue, which is the type of thing that we have interest to the committee, arose, I would have to ask questions of the people in the Áras and hope to have it fixed.
Yeah, I suppose.
But it hasn't happened, so.
Yeah, the reason why there's so much interest in it now is because of the presidential election that's coming up and scrutinising it. And,
I thought it wasn't that.
Okay, and that the public in general and newspapers, media in general, want to scrutinise everything, and that's why we have to be careful here today what we say and what we ask. But you are happy anyway that the remit you have and the spend is well within reason.
Insofar as I'm responsible for it, yes. Yeah.
Okay, the last question I want to ask again. I just wonder, why did you write the letter to us then last week that we received here last Thursday about the constitutionality of we doing our job, as I see it, here scrutinising Board 1? Why did you have concern, and why did you write that letter, which some members took offence to it, that you were actually interfering with the run of our committee here? I'd just like you to pass a comment on that yourself personally.
I wasn't interfering with the committee. I was making a number of points which is my job to make. So I made them. I think they're important. The first point was that the Presidency is above politics. The second is that my role as accounting officer is different in Ars Neutron than it would be, say, in the Taoiseach's department. The third one is there's a very profound constitutional issue which everyone accepts here. The fourth one is I am worried about political impartiality in the context of an election campaign, as I am in another situation. And finally, I made the point that the President is, of course, open to scrutiny and will be in the election campaign. So I felt they were important points to make.
And do you feel that we were going to overstep the mark here and to be unconstitutional for us to question the vote?
I think if the committee had attempted to make the President answer with the Oireachtas, it would be unconstitutional. But the Chairman has given me assurances on the point.
Yeah, we're very civil people. We're here to...
That's not a matter of civility, Deputy. To be fair, I have to deal with all aspects of the Constitution all the time in my work. I probably deal with the Constitution more than anybody else. So I'm just very careful about the Constitution. That doesn't mean you aren't, it's just I am.
And you're satisfied the performance of the meeting so far
I'm
is not
going
breached?
Uh,
to comment.
No, but there will be no breach. You're not concerned so far that there has been any difficulty. Next speaker is Deputy Alan Farrell.
Thank you, Chairman.
Deputy Aylward, finally.
Chairman, just a few comments again. I agree with the previous speaker. I think that what we did here today was good for democracy. I think it cleared the air. We got a chance to, maybe we should have done it long ago or at the time and all that, but I think it's a good thing what we did. And people are trying to cast aspersions on what we're doing here today and try to make it political. I think we're wrong. I think there's question marks here, definitely. I would ask the question about responsibility. The Controller and Honour General seems to be the main responsibility here, even though his role is tolerant. Mr. Fraser is kind of passed the buck a few times to the Controller and General, and then you have the Audit Committee in the Office itself. So I think it needs to be established responsibility here in future, and who is responsible, and is the same as other audits that we do here. That the Controller and Auditor General makes a report, and then we question that report on what he puts in front of us. It seems to be crisscrossing a bit here today, and I think that's something we should take from this meeting here today. Just the reason why we're here, I just looked up the reason why we're here as a PAC, and the 3 E's and 2 P's. We're here for economically, to investigate economically, efficiency, effectiveness, procedures and privileges. 3 E's and 2 P's. I think that's what we're here for. I think Deputy McSherry's question about 317,000 here today that no one seems to answer, seems to be coming out of the blue. I didn't know anything about it until Deputy McSherry would say, and no one here is responsible for it or able to tell us or even put any light on why that 317,000 is paid. And what's the difference in you said to the wasn't paid over the vote, was paid somehow, some Act 97 or something like that. That needs to be clarified, and what the money is for. It's 317,000 of taxpayers' money. And definitely there's a question mark to know why is that being given or for what reason and how to spend. And that has to be answered within a short while. And let us know here why that money is being spent, so that the public in general and the contestants that are taking place in next week, when it's closed tomorrow, that everyone knows what this 317,000 is about and why it's been spent, and on what grounds it's been spent and for what reason. I think that needs to be answered, and answered sooner rather than later.